Let's have a look at a demonstration of HTTP session in Eclipse. There will be two demonstrations for HTTP session. The first demo will demonstrate on string data and integer data, and the second demo will demonstrate on object data. In the first demo, we need 4 components. First, we need to have a web form. The web form will accept input from the user, and we will store the input into the session. The name of the form is session1.html. The second component is a web link to open our form. The web link will be put in index.html. The third component is a servlet. We will use this servlet to add our data into the session. We name this component as session@servlet.java. Then, we need another component, which is servlet, to manipulate the data in the session. We name this component as session manager servlet.java. For the first demo, I have prepared a form and a link to open the form. In this demo, we are receiving a string input and store it in the session. To do that, we need a servlet to retrieve the input from user and store it in the session. To create a session, right-click on the package, select New, and then select Servlet. Name the new servlet. I name it as session@servlet. And then click Next. Change the mapping name. Click OK, and then click Finish. A new servlet is created for us. So right now, we are going to override do post. Let me make some space here. We do not need this part, so we delete it. So first of all, we need to get the session. Session is not created, but we get it from request object. So request.getSession. So we use this particular method here, and it returns a HTTP session object. So we assign it to one object called HTTP session, and I name it as session. So this is the first step. Then we import HTTP session. Okay, so that is the first part. The second part is we need to get data from web form. So we get our first data. So we use request.getParameter. And our data here name is name. So this one is name. This method here returns a string object. So I put it as name, just to maintain the consistency. Okay, so that is the second step. The third step is add data to session. Okay, so we add it as an attribute to session. So session.getAttribute. Set attribute. So this particular method here receive 2 parameters, which is the string referring to the name of the attribute and value in terms of object. So we use this method. We name it as name for easy reference, and our value is referring to the one that we receive from the form, which is name. So put it as name. So that is the fourth part. Okay. We wanted to demonstrate session tracking in this demo. So I'm going to redirect this particular servlet into another servlet. Okay. So to redirect, I use response send redirect. Let's say the servlet name is session servlet, session manager servlet. So that's it. So we finished the first part. Right. So copy this part, which is the servlet mapping, and paste it in HTML form at the action part here. So we are done with the first part of the session. Now we are going to code for session manager servlet. So this is the servlet that will access and manipulate the session value. So we need another servlet, the same process, right click, new, and then select servlet. Name your servlet, session manager servlet. And then click next. Change the URL mapping to session. Click OK. Then click finish. So we override the get method. First, we need to get the session using the request object. And assign it to HttpSession. Import this class. Okay. Then we start to manipulate by get the attribute. Okay. So session, from the object session, press get, and find get attribute. So this method here will return our session value in terms of object. Okay, and this particular method receive one parameter from string, and this is referring to the name of our attribute that we have declared in the previous session, in previous servlet. So we use this method. Our attribute name is name. Okay, and assign it to string. And then, okay, this one here, it gives you, because it returns an as a general object, so we need to cast it to specific object. So we put string here. So basically, the whole thing that is written by the session object here is in terms of string, so it matches with our variable that we declare here. Okay, now we start to manipulate by displaying the name, displaying the value of the session. So we use system.out.println. Okay, just to indicate that the thing happens in servlet, in session manager servlet. So get class, get simple name. Okay, this is to print the class name, and retrieve name from session. And now we display the name that we retrieve. Okay, so we are done at session tracking. Okay, now we are going to run our application. So right click, run as, select run on server, and then click finish. So this is our first demo on HttpSession. Click, and you put your name. Let's say this name, and then you click submit. Okay, so we have our output here. Retrieve name from session, and this is the name.